Hello everyone, and welcome to our channel, and today I'll be reading a multi-character listener by me. So let's get into it. Venti. Venti can be very easygoing, and he tries not to argue with anyone if he can avoid it. Why would he bring arguments into anything when he can just make things a lot more peaceful and avoid arguing with anyone altogether? It seemed a lot easier than actually arguing and even being violent sometimes. Not that he ever supported violence, and he honestly hardly ever resorted to it. So seeing someone catcall you and harass you in such a manner, it made him very upset. And at first, he tried to ignore it, as per your advice. But for someone to consistently just keep going, without even just minding their own business and going their own way, it seemed like they wanted an argument, and Venti was not even a fan of giving one. So he just went to them. You see, I think that you've been taking it a little bit too far with Ryan here. So, maybe, you should actually stop that. I'm sure you can tell she's quite uncomfortable. And it's better not to make anyone uncomfortable in here, right? So just watch your behavior next time, he says. And you don't know what else he whispers in the man's ear, for him to shiver and immediately just go away, and for Venti to come back giggling. Oh, you're here, Ryan. I'm just glad that I got you. You know, there's a song I know that you haven't heard before. How about I sing it for you, huh? He said, and he knew all too well that it was a distraction from what just happened, but you were going to take it. Furina. Furina was very outspoken, and in spite of her own personal feelings after her fall from grace, there were some things that she could not be quiet about, some things that she had to speak upon. No matter how powerless she believed herself to be now, she at least knew she could protect herself with a Solon Solitaire. And also, people were willing to protect her, the guards too. And for the most part, she was still just as respected. So for someone to have the guts to harass you and flirt with you like that, it was out of line, and Furina just couldn't hold herself back. Seeing you become all so uncomfortable, it was unsettling, and she didn't like it. Hey, you! How dare you speak like that? Can't you watch your tongue? It's honestly awful how some of you can be. I hope this serves as a warning. If you ever bother Ryan again, or anyone for that matter, I'll make sure Monsieur Nevelet knows. And the guards too. Or I can just take care of you myself. She says she does not have to uphold the law anymore, and she does not feel obliged to do so. Despite being the Archon of Justice, she was a human now, and she could play by the human rules in the human world. And the guy just froze, before nodding, apologizing multiple times, before running away. Furina just laughed herself, kissing your cheek. Well, do you see just how wonderful I am? You should be grateful you have someone like me, she said, and you truly were. Zhongli. He is very, very wise, and usually avoids conflict that he deems unnecessary. But sometimes there were things that were simply necessary to confront and to stand up against. And that also included harassment and people who just had no manners and no respect. That someone who was catcalling you on the street is just a mere example of those people who had no respect at all, who needed to be dealt with. And he was more than willing to teach him a lesson. After all, he was an Archon before. Confronting someone like that, it was an easy job for him. It was easy for him since he knew just what it would take for that person to listen and know their limits. And he knew just how easily they would fold as soon as they saw the sign of a threat. Before you could even say a word, you had kissed the palm of your hand, went to talk to that person, and with a gentle smile, a polite one, that was very disarming and contradicted with what he was about to say, he went over to the man and talked to him, and before he knew it, he was getting on his knees, apologizing and begging for forgiveness. And of course, he was merciful. But of course, there was also a contract that was put in place. And once he was back, he was smiling, kissing your cheek. Don't worry about them now. They will not be bothering anyone again soon. Or ever, truly. So you have nothing to worry about now. What could I say? He is a very thorough gentleman. Raiden Ei. Raiden was very, very difficult to deal with and not a person that you wanted to talk to. So for someone to actually flirt with you and catcall you in front of her, it must have meant that they didn't notice her presence. Otherwise, nobody would even dare. And that's truly what it was. The person did not know Raiden was there. And that's why they were catcalling you so openly, flirting and scaring you. But as soon as she had turned away from the library, I went back to you to stand at your side, and she saw the scene that was unfolding. She scowled and stormed over to the man. Now, what are you? Oh, she frowned. The man had already sprinted away. Before she could even say a word to him. She could bring him back now if she wanted, but she really didn't care that much. She will deal with him, inevitably, but in a more personal manner. Now she just wanted to check up on you. Are you okay, dear? I hope he didn't bother you so much. He didn't. I was just a little bit worried that he would take things to an extreme degree. There's nothing to fight about. Truly. I suppose you're right now. He's stopped bothering you, but I will make sure that he's warned accordingly. Either way, it's nothing for you to worry about. I assure you I won't do much, she said. And you could only try your best to believe her, because regardless of whether you believed her or not, there was no stopping her once her mind was set on something.